obviously the story of this season for the Houston Cougars football team has been the inconsistency that they've seen in the first 6 games. And it started off with one hell of a game against UTSA. They came back. They won it in triple overtime. Then they played Texas Tech. They had a big disappointment being able to not close the deal against the Red Raiders, going back to that 4th and 20 situation. Then they ran into a red-hot Kansas team, and then we know the story. Rice came down to the final possession. Tulane they couldn't beat without their starting quarterback and without their second-string quarterback. And then really it came down to that Memphis game where heading into the bye week, they were sitting at 2-3. We mentioned it, that game very well could have defined what this season was for Houston. And, for the first 3 quarters, it seemed like the season might be on this last leg because they were down 19 at one point against the Tigers in that 4th quarter. And then I don't know where they rallied back. Kudos to the players, to the coaching staff that they kind of stuck together and were able to make that rally, not only to defeat Memphis, but really honestly save their season. And we're going to talk more specifically about what that was like from the players' perspective. Here's what Jace Rogers had to say about that win against Memphis specifically.
Well, I would say, the mood of the team never really went anywhere. We always knew it was pretty good. It was just the fact that we was always making little critical errors down the stretch in those games. So it's just kind of just trying to get everything together, trying to make everything complete. So with that, we was just practicing every day, just better communication, just making sure, talking through everything before we go out on the field. Because before the last 2 games, our only 3 losses became from 6 points. It was a 6-point difference. So we always knew it was pretty good. We just had to fix the little beginning of the season things that go on. I feel like the communication came from everybody, because we were so worried about the outside noise and what everybody expected of us. So we was thinking about conference championship and everything instead of handling the task at hand. So it's everybody, once we figured out okay, boom, it ain't going how we want it to go. So everybody just started voicing Donnie, he's an amazing leader. Donnie, G. Owens, they're amazing leaders, and I won't ask for nobody else to lead us. But we just came to a point where everybody was just voicing their opinion, we need this to work and we got to make this work, especially in the DB room, because most of the mistakes that came down the stretch was in our room. So we made sure everybody was on the same page, extra meetings, staying after practice, just making sure everybody was on the same page. And I feel like that's how we've been getting it on the road the past 2 games. I feel like we needed that win bad. It was a must win for us. If we didn't get that win, I don't know how the locker room would be. But everybody in high spirits. We came together as a defense. We had defensive meetings and stuff like that to be okay, this is what we're gonna do. Our goal's still on the table. Everything we want to accomplish still can be accomplished, because it's so why not talk about it and have extra meetings and make sure everybody else on the same page to get where we need to go. So just a little more meeting and talking to each other and just even hanging out when it ain't football, just to get closer to your brother and stuff like that. So we did a lot of that, and I feel like it was a turning point for us. We needed that win.
It was a turning point for the team. They needed that win. You heard it there from Jace Rogers a day on. Before we get into any of the other clips from Dana Horst in particular and what he's seen from the team after that win against Memphis, I think that's a testament to the veteran leadership, to the senior leadership on this team. And in particular right there, you heard Jace Rogers talk about it, the defensive back room specifically kind of taking responsibility for how those close losses came.
Yeah, taking a responsibility and accountability for how they came and their mistakes. So it's good to hear him see that and hold the cornerback, the defensive back room accountable, and then hearing the solutions to their problems, in which he talked about communication and being able to communicate and re-emphasize in communication, whether if you already said it 1 or 2 times, say it 3 or 4 times, just to ensure that your teammate got whatever the call or whatever the situation is. And so that was good to hear them say that. And like I alluded to earlier about kind of being where their feet are and focusing on the moment. And I think the way the season started early, it kind of really made them hone in on where they are right now and focus on what they need to do game by game. And so it was a lot to unpack there, but I really love all of that I heard from Jace Rogers for sure right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we heard Rodgers there. All the outside noise, they were focusing on all the expectations. And then, it might have been a little bit of a shell shock where, they had all that buzz heading into the season. I mean, really, they got punched in the mouth by Texas Tech, and then Kansas followed it up by coming and delivering another right hook to the way the season had come. And then the Rice game, especially when you look at it, how it ended, Houston ended up winning, but Holgorsen was frustrated. He was clearly frustrated with the way that final possession had gone in terms of the Houston defense, and Rice really being real close to scoring a touchdown on that final drive. And I mean, again, kudos to the players specifically being able to, like you heard Rodgers there, communicate with each other, kind of figure out, assess how the season had gone, figure out that communication is key in terms of a lot of the problems they've had. And I think first and foremost, what you've really seen, at least when you look at it from a stat sheet perspective, the most important thing for them is how they've been able to cut down on a lot of those silly mistakes, especially when it comes to penalties in regards to, and this is not just in terms of the defense, but this is overall across the board on the team. The offensive line has cut down a lot of pre-snap penalties. I mean, they're coming off their best game of the season. When it comes to that, they only had 4 penalties accepted against them, which is by far the lowest they've had all season long.
And that kind of goes into situational football. A lot of times in those situations, it'll be a 3rd and short. You get a false start, pre-snap penalty, push you back to a 3rd and long, and that'll kind of stifle some of the drives, and it'll hurt some of the play calling that they could have made if they would have had a 3rd and reasonable. Yeah. Or there's some of the penalties that the defense would make that keep drives alive, or allowing plays that's 3rd and really long and you keep drives alive. So I think all around the bye week came at a perfect time when they got the win. So I think the season is kind of shaping up in the favor of Houston and allowing them to kind of control their own destiny. Almost in a sense, if they can win out, you still need a couple things to happen for them to make their championship game. But if they take care of business, I mean, they can be potentially right where they want to be. And I mean, I think the team definitely hasn't lost to Coach Holgorsen and the staff, hasn't lost the locker room for sure. That was kind of, we speculated because we were unsure how the season started. We were unsure.
That was a lot of noise, even from national perspective.
No, for sure, national perspective and just us. And so, and it's good to see that. I mean, because we don't expect him to go anywhere anytime soon. The recruiting is still doing well. And so the product on the field, I think, has to reflect that as well. And over these last few weeks, they have done that. They have made adjustments. It looks like Coach Holgorsen is calling plays. Do we get any confirmation on that? Did anyone ask him about that?
We did not.
Okay, well, it seemed like he did, and if he did, I will give him his credit because that was something that he specializes in, part of why he got the job, and so if he did do that, I don't know if he would admit it or what. We can't get confirmation, but let's just say if he did look like he did, I have to give him his props for that. And the defense just continuing to get better and not hurt themselves on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some change, whether it be the way they're preparing, at least maybe the way that the message is being relayed, or the way the players are going out there and executed. Now, it's a perfect segue, Dayon, because you just mentioned there was a lot of speculation in terms of where maybe the mindset of the team was, and kudos to the coaching staff and the players, because I think it showed right there when they were down 19 in the fourth quarter against Memphis. That could have been it. They could have let go of the rope, and that fire would have just grown much. It would have been uncontrollable at that point. Here's what Dana Holgorsen had to say about really the mindset of that program at that time.
Oh yeah, we've been in some bad spots because of some close losses, but I never felt like we lost the team or the pulse wasn't there, the work ethic wasn't there, the practices weren't there. I haven't felt that. I just think we got really good character on this team and kept fighting, and a lot of fight, right? So all those early season games, wins, morale was high. Losses, we were disappointed, but not down to the point to where we could practice and prepare the right way to go out and compete, which we've done every game. A couple of disappointing losses, but it wasn't because we weren't competing. Just ball didn't bounce our way or whatever you want to say. It doesn't matter. Everybody's got their own opinion. I've been proud of our team with the fight that we've shown. It allowed us to come back against Memphis and win. And Memphis is a good football team, but they're going through it right now too with close losses and stuff. But that's the conference and that's college football. You deal with it. And our team has dealt with it, and happy playing right home after Memphis. I couldn't quit giggling, it was a good feeling to be able to do that. And we used it to our advantage, and we had confidence going to Navy and playing well, and we did. We had confidence. We went up there and we played well. Been having to answer questions about starting fast forever, we did that, and so that's improvement. Still haven't played a complete game, but I'm just happy with what the progress is, and I think our morale is good. We're in a good spot, and we're excited about playing again here this Saturday.
I think the key for me in that soundbite, confidence, which is something that, especially when Houston was sitting, especially after that Tulane loss, that's probably where the team's confidence might have been at its lowest all season long. And again, kudos to the turnaround that they had been able to do. And going back, it's a testament to the leadership in that locker room, man.
For sure, and that's something we talked about was them competing. And I agree with Dana wholeheartedly. I never saw anyone in any of the games, even if they lost, that they weren't competing. They will have competed. And I kind of alluded to that in one of our previous podcasts or legendary schools. I can't remember exactly that. When players step on the field, they have their own pride within themselves and they're going to compete. Because at the end of the day, I'm sure most of them want to play professionally. And what you put on film represents you, not just the program. And so I agree with Dana 100%. The competitive nature has never lost. The team has always fought. And so when the ball finally falls your way against Memphis, then you get the bye week, you get the rest, you get the reset, then you continue what you built against Memphis, against Navy. And now you start to have some momentum. And now you kind of have reassurance that you can do what you thought you can do to start the season. And the way things are lining up, I think the confidence has to be maybe high, or you have to be confident within yourself and within your team that they can win these games